All right, cool. Well, welcome everybody to Hump Day Hangouts. Remember, two rules. We're gonna have fun and we're gonna learn how to use LinkedIn. Oh, sorry, those are the two goals. The rules is don't be a jerk and you'll be all right. All right, cool. So priority goes to everybody here live. Jared, really quick, I forgot that you submitted the thing with the messaging on Sales Nav. Did we talk about that like 2 weeks ago?
Yeah, we did,
Okay.
we can do that another time.
Did you not have it in the Netherlands anymore? Or is it gone?
Yeah.
That sounds like an awful user experience.
Yeah.
Okay, cool. And then Tracy, same to you. I totally forgot the thing with the time being irrelevant to the newsfeed, right? When someone says like, we're doing this tomorrow, and then it's like a week or two later. There's nothing you can do about that. It's just annoying. It's a pain. And I'm guilty of that too, because I'm guilty of that too, because I'll be like, hey, we're starting in, like however many minutes, and then it gets this little traction, and then tomorrow someone sees it and they're like, oh, dang it. So yeah, totally. Nothing you can do about that. All right. Anybody have anything top of mind? I would kind of like, I've got some really sweet questions that came in, but I wouldn't mind spending a couple minutes talking about the HiQ lawsuit that LinkedIn lost because of the implications for like scraping and stuff. Did you guys hear about that?
Yeah, I saw your post, but I didn't had the chance to read it yet.
Okay, cool. So basically, LinkedIn has public data and private data. Like you have your public profile, which you could like Google and then view if you're not logged into LinkedIn. And there's other stuff too as well, like I think influencer and some things. If you share a comment and it's public, like there's just some public data. And LinkedIn's major anti-scraping, but companies, big companies, small companies, one-man shows, they'll scrape the public data and they'll scrape the private member data, and then they'll use it. So what HiQ was doing was they were scraping public data, stuff that's available not when you're logged in, and then using that to build a product. And LinkedIn said that's against our rules. And HiQ said, no, it's not, because it's public. And so LinkedIn sent them a cease and desist, and it's been in court for a couple years, I think. Anyways, it just got settled where basically the court said, sorry, LinkedIn, if it's public data, people can do whatever they want with it, which is really interesting. So today, I don't know if you guys are at your computer, you should try this. So today I was thinking about answering another question about maybe a hack to find out to find out who is following your company page, because LinkedIn doesn't tell you who those individuals are. So I was thinking maybe you could view a profile incognito, and then if it says following company, then you could just do like a phrase match in search, but it doesn't show you the companies you're following, just the groups you're a member of, which is a bummer. Anyways, when I did that today, I had to do like a funky CAPTCHA where I had to click a little animal arrow to bounce the animal to view my profile while not logged in. Is anybody at a desktop? You should totally try that. I don't mind, because unless it's just me, unless they don't like my IP for some reason, this might be like part of the fallout where they say we're gonna tighten the reins on that a little bit. So basically, people who do scraping are super happy, but again, this is just for public data. It's still, if you're logged in, no go. Like, there you go.
How do you get into a LinkedIn page while you're incognito? Don't you have to sign in to some extent?
No, you can. Like, if you're incognito, you could Google it and like Google your name and then view it.
Got it.
Incognito. Oh, you could just go right to the URL. Yeah, I went right to the URL and it made me do it, and then I did it from Google too, and it made me do it. So I think changes are coming there too because they lost that lawsuit. So curious. Jared, are you still seeing the cookie pop up all the time?
Yeah.
Yeah, that's got to be an EU thing.
At the top of my screen, when I switch, it's coming back up.
That's probably an EU thing.
I don't think so. Because not everybody has the same problem. I think it's something in my account, but I can't replicate it with my clients.
Oh, interesting. Same browser too?
Yeah.
Yeah, I have no idea.
No, and when I wipe all my cookies and everything, still in my account every time I'm in LinkedIn, in my personal profile, every time the cookies are popping up.
Interesting. Are you, because there's a, like in Safari, are you using Chrome? Yeah, I don't know, man. I
Yeah,
have no idea.
I didn't encounter anybody else that has the same problem, and my clients where I manage the profiles for don't have it either. So yeah,
Weird.
something with me.
Yeah. I'll see if I can look into that, but if you haven't figured that out, I don't know that anybody will.
Yeah, but there are people smarter than me,
Just a few.
and they're all here.
Did anybody do the incognito?
Yes.
Did you have to do the animal arrow?
No.
Mm.
So I have the page up and it says 33 followers.
For your personal profile?
No, I didn't pull up my personal profile.
Oh, try
I
pulling
pulled
up your personal profile.
Okay,
Sorry.
that's all right.
Because I think that's the data that they're most frustrated about being scraped.
Okay.
Did you go?
It didn't give me any sort of a key. It just took me straight there.
Oh my gosh, they're probably just targeting me. Cool. All right, cool.
You're the 1 in 10.
Maybe.
They just put a certain number of them as double checks.
Could be. All right, cool.
Or you have a membership. I'm not pay to play on LinkedIn.
I don't know. I have no idea. All right. So I have a question for you guys related to email. This is Jesse, the thing in the news post, the post. Okay, so I have never personally, that I can remember, I've never experienced a tasteful integration of email communication with a new connect. It's always like, if I connect with someone, either I'm added to their newsletter, which no one likes, or it's like a auto broadcast, which like still has the unsubscribe on the bottom. And I'm like, I know you didn't send this because it says unsubscribe on the bottom. What are you doing? So do you guys feel like, is there any way that you could do that where it's both tasteful and you're not confusing the person about, how to get a hold of you? You guys have any thoughts on that?
I could talk at hours for it, but I don't know if everybody will listen.
You'll have to give us the short and skinny.
Okay, so you have, in my opinion, two options, because I want to treat this like a conversion, right? So you don't want to think of it as like they accepted the connect, that's an automatic conversion. You want to think as the connect kind of like them landing on your landing page, right? Where you want to incentivize them to take the conversation to a more private area so you can kind of connect one-to-one. Even though, yes, you can do that on LinkedIn, doing it through email is much more personal. So you could just send them a link, be like, hey, I see that you have an issue with XYZ, which if you're using the system that you taught already kind of makes sense because you're only going to connect with people that you want to work with, who you can help. So you could offer kind of like a relevant lead magnet and be like, hey, I know I have a mailing list, and you're probably on a dozen mailing lists, but I actually have something that's really valuable. If you click here, it can sign up. There's a ton of cool stuff that like goes forward from that, but at the same time, even if you just like this one thing, you can immediately unsubscribe because you're trying to get them to do the easiest action possible, which is sign up, right? But I think the actual issue you're dealing with is less getting them on the list and more how they're using email, right? Because that's the actual complaint, is that most email is just thinly veiled marketing, when in reality, email is where you nurture relationships, start conversations, and essentially set yourself apart from marketing assets through an ongoing narrative that's interesting to the user. So if you have a really good email game that's dialed into what you're trying to accomplish in relation to customer management, coaching decisiveness, etc., you'll have a much better return, and people are going to be really interested. Open rates will go up, click-throughs will go up. But the problem is, if you just immediately get their email, drop them in there, and just start marketing to them, they didn't really agree to be marketed to, and they didn't expect it. And that's the problem. Most people who do this, and by most I mean like 99.9%, they're treating it purely transactional. And email isn't a transactional platform; it's a proactive conversational one.
Mm-hmm. So you think it'd be a good idea to, like, when somebody connects, and you have their email, like basically, and if this is a cold relationship, like you don't know them yet in real life, and you're going to send a message to start the conversation, send an email at the same time, but not automated, just like something that kind of works hand in hand with what you're saying on LinkedIn. That way there's a point of reference in their inbox.
One thing you could do is personally send them an email from your own account, and then have the sign up for the email list in that email. And so you could send like, hey, I just sent you a personal email real quick. I have some stuff you might be interested in. So you're training them for the click through. And so the next click through is also very easy, but it's at this point where it's not going to hurt the relevancy of your list. So if you do have a big list and you start getting tons of people clicking spam because you just automatically added them, that's going to really hurt your deliverability rates. So you can lower that, increase deliverability, and engage the people you want by sending them a really light personal email after messaging them. So it's very top of mind, like a real estate person would do, like send a postcard, and then call, be like, hey, I sent these last 2 postcards. I don't know if you got them. I just want to drop a line and connect, just stay top of mind. And it's like you taught with the messaging, like just question, answer, opening like doors, right? Not closing them with just, hey, you're in this room, now you got to buy something to get out.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And I think everybody wants to be acknowledged. There's this core piece in hospitality where everybody wants to be known and wants to be acknowledged. And when you are sending them something that is a relevant invitation, and then you follow up with, hey, I was thinking of you, I didn't see a response on this, and it is actually personal, that makes a really big difference to people. The connection in their head is psychologically different.
Mm, yeah.
So I love what you're talking about.
Maybe it'd be a good idea to, like, if you have sales and have been using tagging, to give people time to engage, because not everybody's on LinkedIn very often. And then once like a certain time frame goes by to where it's still fresh but not too fresh, not too pushy, then you send them an email that's personalized, and then maybe that is like the bridge to where if they're not engaging on LinkedIn, you tastefully take it to email, and then your kind of end game is the same. Maybe it's also easier here to opt into like an email funnel.
I think your issue is finding ways to connect human. One thing that I really like is sending videos to people. It helps me like increase personalness. So you can use Loom, or a great, like, not to plug anything, but a great video integrator for email is BombBomb. And you can shoot like these short, like 30-second, 1-minute clips. You can send it over, and people are like, oh my God, this is really cool. You're speaking directly to them. Uploads automatically. Same thing with Loom. So it's not like there's a ton of time that you're waiting for each one. It's in real time. And you send that short email, and it's not even like an email, it's just a video. It's like, hey, thanks so much for clicking on this. I got some great stuff. Just join the list below. But you personalize it to like things that you've seen on the list, and you do that 20 times a day. You're going to have a much better open rate, click-through rate, engagement rate, etc.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's really good. Hey, Judy, I just saw you popped in here. How you doing?
Hey, good. How are you?
Very well. Good to see you.
Do I have to show my face?
No, you absolutely don't.
Yeah.
Hey, there she is. How's it going?
Good.
Hi. Welcome. All right. So sorry to distract there. Just want to say hi to Judy. We've never had you on live, so good to see you. So Judy, we're just talking briefly about, is there a tasteful way to integrate, like to do email in tandem with like LinkedIn messaging, to where you're not spamming, it's not an auto opt-in, and Jesse was just shared some thoughts. He does copywriting, so yeah, good stuff. It's a fine balance. It's a very fine balance. I was talking to a development team, like a web dev team, last week, because one of my pain points is, I mean, if you're really doing a lot of messaging, if you're doing a lot of email, it's like I want a universal inbox, right? Because it's such a pain in the rear when you've got some people reply to the message, some people reply to the email, and then sometimes they do both, and you're just like, oh my gosh.
Oh, wait,
So,
and now LinkedIn has 2 inboxes.
and now LinkedIn has 2 inboxes.
Yeah. Navigator, it's like I have lost so many opportunities, and I didn't even realize messages were sitting in there.
Yeah, for sure. Absolutely. And so they told me that there is a LinkedIn messaging API, which I had no idea. I'm not an API guy. I'm so not a tech guy. But you can Google Microsoft LinkedIn messaging API if you want to like kind of get the ball rolling there. And so what they told me was I don't know if they were over promising, but they said that there's a way to do that. And I was like, that would be amazing because I feel like everybody would buy that, you know? And then there's a sales navigator inbox API, it says on the Microsoft documentation that's coming soon.
Well, it's
So-
interesting because when I spoke to them, they said, I was at, I don't know what it was, Inbound or something. And here's their rationale for doing it. Well, Sales Navigator is for business development, right, and sales, but your LinkedIn inbox is your personal inbox. And I was like, no, LinkedIn is not a personal platform. It is business to business. You're doing business. Yes, you may know people, but it's all business. It's not Facebook Messenger. And so that was their rationale. Again, silos. Navigator doesn't talk to regular.
Yeah, absolutely. And yeah, I mean, now when when you send the connection from SalesNav, the thread goes into SalesNav. Yeah, which I personally I like the SalesNav. I like using messaging in SalesNav more than in the normal, just if it's work related. But yeah, I would love for them to be combined, but I would love even more to be able to sync the conversation that's in the inboxes with my CRM, so that it's also, I can see the contact with email history and the message history to be able to easily engage in the communication channel that they prefer. So anyways, if I don't have the funding right now or the time, but it's right in the front of my mind. I think that if that was a SaaS, like a software as a service, I would pay for it for sure.
Well,
What do you think?
HubSpot has that. HubSpot has it, but it's only on Enterprise Edition Navigator. So you have to have the team version and multiple licenses, and you have to have the enterprise version of HubSpot, but they do have it.
So, and they'll bring in the
bring it
sales
in.
up. Really?
But we're talking
didn't.
enterprise level. So you're looking at, more than 4 seats on Sales Nav, which is, it gets pricey. And then, the enterprise level of HubSpot. So right now, that's what they have.
Interesting.
The best they can do for the free or the lesser versions is the Chrome plugin. And so it doesn't necessarily pull it in, but it gives you a little bit of a, window. So I'm sorry, I don't mean to hijack this, but all I do is LinkedIn training. So
yeah, it's great.
Blah.
It's great. Yeah. Well, if HubSpot's bringing in the messaging, it can be done. I wonder if they're, I'll have to poke around on that a little bit. Okay, cool. All right. So I've got a few submitted questions, but while I have people live here, anybody have anything top of mind that they want to talk about? Questions, topics? Jared, Judy, Tracy, Dave, Jess?
Topic related to what? Is there like a theme, or you have Hump Day Hangout?
Yeah, it's I mean, I have questions come in from a few channels, and then if anybody has something that they want to talk about in here live, just related to LinkedIn, for sure.
Okay.
No.
I didn't even know you were doing this. I got to hop off in about 6 minutes, but you are awesome for doing this.
You know what? It's honestly my favorite part of the week.
This is really nice. This is
It's a good time. Well, thanks for jumping on. So if there's nothing live here from everybody live, I'm gonna just kind of go through the questions because there were some really good ones. Alexandra, ready? Now, when people chime in, we'll have to remember this is a safe place because people can get a little heated. So Alexandra asked, what are the most cliche and overused personal descriptions, probably I think she's referring to a headline, on LinkedIn that people are tired of reading? So I don't know what everybody's headlines are in here right now. So if you get bailed on, sorry. So I'll wait. Do you guys have anything that you feel like you read all the time and you're like, oh, that was cool like 2 years ago, it's so overused now?
Ninja.
Anything that's a buzzword.
Yeah.
Okay, buzzwords, Ninja. Jer, I can tell you just have a lot to say about this.
I think you're actually right. The buzzwords and all the icons in your profile, I think it's distracting. And my opinion is, if you're clear on what you do and who you help, that's a good format. Because if you go to a hospital and you want to search out a heart surgeon, you want his title to be, I'm a heart surgeon, I help this kind of people. And for a business person, you have to be clear also.
Mhm.
And how you phrase it, that's your prerogative, but it should also uphold your brand.
Very true. Very true. I feel like it's also important to keep in mind that like the whole world is not uniform, and we can't get too snarky about what works for us is best for everybody else.
No.
You know, there are different industries, different demographics, you know, so we're saying this, and I agree with everything you said, and you might have somebody who's, you know, 23 and started a business, and their customers are all 23, and they're like, Ninja works, man. You know, and so it's important that we remember that. But I think that I definitely trends, fads come and go, and I don't want to get too. It's easy for me to get cynical. I don't want to get cynical, but some things work for some people, and I think it's dumb. But it's okay.
But I think it's always hilarious when you're looking at profiles and it reads, you know, transformational catalyst specialist. And you're like, I have no idea what you do.
Mm-hmm.
It's all these big words that
Yes.
sound like, hey, I do something really exciting and bold, and yet you haven't quantified what it is that you do or who you serve. And those are always the ones where I'm like, probably not.
Yeah. Yeah. Best practice, you know, keep it short. Well, I guess there's two opinions there. Keep it clear about what you do. Yeah. I see a lot of headlines that are, I help X do X. And I don't think that's bad, but I see it a lot. And I know, and again, maybe this is just me being cynical. I just have this feeling as soon as I push accept on a connect, when the headline is I help X do X and I'm one of the X's, I know I'm going to get a sales pitch. And maybe it's a really well written sales pitch, but I just I know that that's where it's going. And maybe that's good for everybody because it's intentional from the beginning, you know, but I feel like I see that often, and yeah, it doesn't really bother me, but I feel like I have assumptions going into the conversation beforehand. And again, maybe that's all right.
So your problem is the follow-up that comes after the headline when you push accept, and not the headline per se, but the people that are using it.
Yeah, you know, that's a great, I think that's what it is. So if you do it well, and I'm maybe quasi interested in what you do and I'm a good fit, it's probably good. But I probably, just because I get a lot of spam, I have negative assumptions.
I have to bail, but I love you guys. I'll be back next week.
All right. See you, Judy.
Bye.
Take care.
Bye-bye.
Yeah, that's a really good point. Probably the problem is me, Jer. And the people spamming people.
If
Blame
you're a
the
baker,
spammers.
yeah. If you're a heart surgeon or a baker, how would you phrase it then?
I was a heart surgeon.
Yeah.
I'd
How would
probably
you
say like
phrase
I'm
your headline?
probably like heart surgeon.
I help people with the problems of the heart.
Yeah. Sure, Romeo. But yeah, like I said, I don't want to come down on that. It's just one thing that I see often.
Yeah.
And it makes me have reservations because of my past history with bad players. But yeah, but I don't think it's bad. Your headline says something like that, doesn't it?
Yeah.
Yeah, it's great. It's great. And yeah. Anybody else? Okay, cool. And so I feel like, oh yeah, I don't want to go too far down that rabbit hole. Okay, cool. Everybody good? Everybody good?
Yeah.
Awesome.
No problem.
And let's just be clear here. Jer is a pro, so I take whatever Jer says seriously. All right, Sean, how do you hide your LinkedIn activity from your employer? Well, Sean, I'd like to know what the heck you're doing. To where you don't want your employer to know. You know, there's not an easy way to I'm assuming that he's talking about content in the newsfeed, so you can't, you know,
I'm
select
assuming
someone.
he's talking about job search.
Yeah. Or maybe he started a side gig and there's a compete issue and stuff there. Yep. So you can't just hide content from a person select in LinkedIn, at least not right now. It would be kind of neat if you could, but you can't right now. The only way that you could for sure restrict someone from seeing your newsfeed updates is to block them. You could select to share content with only your network, but if they're in your network, I guess you could remove the connection, and even then, somebody else might engage with your content, and if that person is connected to your employer, then it's going to show up in their newsfeed as well, which is a pro if you want your content to go farther. It's a con if you don't want someone to see it. So there's not an easy way to do that, to my knowledge. Does anybody else have anything else on that? Yeah, you'd have safest way is to block them. Maybe you're going to have to end up doing that anyways if you're being shady. Yeah. Okay, cool. Let's see. Kevin, how do you disqualify leads when searching for potential customers? Well, for there, I mean, if you know what your best, if you've like profiled who your ideal customers are and you know how to use search, it's almost just a matter of you're going to be making some assumptions based off of what they have in their profile, but you kind of want to treat search like Google search. So here, I'll share my screen, and then if you guys want to chime in while I'm doing that, feel free.
Well, I'd say the actual question he's asking is less about how do you disqualify leads and more about like speed, right? Because if you've gone through the course, you understand that this is about one-to-one, that you're essentially doing things to a level that doesn't scale at the start. You're testing things, you're doing research. It sounds like he's trying to lift that burden in a way, and I feel like I don't feel like it's a good question because it doesn't take into account what it is that you talked about in the first place.
All right. Your question sucks. Just kidding. We never say that in here. Yeah, I think.
But if we're talking about excluding leads,
Yeah.
don't we want to say that this is just a platform on which you exclude leads, and everything that you have learned and experienced of lead exclusion in the sales process offline should apply online?
Yeah. Yeah, I think there's two places that you do this, right? Number one is, I mean, if you're using search to get a list of people that you want to talk to, it's a matter of, refining the search here. And then like, this is what I was saying earlier, like step one is you need the list. Step two, you need to actually get real-time info out of people through conversation. So do as good of a job as you can here. And this is what I was saying, treat it like search, because there's like, their name, headshot, title, you can get a little bit more data. Do some samples, click through. And if you're seeing things that you don't like, then revise your search. That's just getting a clean list, but it's a way of vetting leads just because of you have a person, like a persona or profile that you want to connect with. From there, like with what Jess was saying, it's a matter of you need the info straight from the horse's mouth. You need to actually talk to them, because a lot of times profile will be out of date. You just don't know what their business context is, all that kind of stuff, where you just have to have that conversation. And then from there, in that conversation, you need to ask the right questions to, in a way that's relational, not salesy, figure out if they are a good lead. And then from there, I mean, there's just no more assumptions. You just know. I think there's two places. You do it in search, and then you do it through conversation with people that you're suing are good. Next, oh, you know what? Hey, we're about half hour in, so if you guys need to bounce out, my feelings won't be hurt. I'm going to do a couple more though, because there were some good ones here. How do I display my group memberships on my LinkedIn profile? From Sonia. All right, this is actually a little tricky. So down here, there are your groups is basically your interests. So see all groups, right? Those are the groups. And there's not an easy way to toggle it. Like I can go like this and check uncheck following and it's going to show it on my profile or not. But when you go to groups, it's not there. So the question is, how do you turn that on or off? Like maybe you don't want it on your profile, but you want to be in the group. So I might go, this is how. So you click that, go to this page. It's going to take me to the group. I'm going to click this little gear here, and it says for the settings, messaging, and then there's display group on profile. So if that's on or off and you want to switch it, that is how you get her done. Go to profile, click following or interest group, go there through the gear, and then display right there.
I'm looking forward to diving into groups a little bit more.
Yeah,
I haven't done a lot of playing with it.
I have mixed feelings on groups because of a lot of reasons. Tell me what you're thinking with groups, Tracy.
But so right now, the group engagement that I really see happening is all still on Facebook. And yet what I really desire is to have more active groups in my professional sphere than in my personal sphere, and bouncing between the two platforms where I really spend most of my time is LinkedIn. Mm-hmm. It's just annoying.
Yeah.
And so I'd love to be able to utilize that in the professional realm. And so figuring that out, I think there's ways to leverage it toward events and toward coaching groups, and I just haven't played with it.
Yeah. Excuse me. You probably didn't even hear my cough.
Barely.
But yeah, so ideally, I completely agree with you for sure. And as a member of a group, what I find happening is once the group gets to a certain size and the activity becomes like it becomes a lot of activity, as a group owner, you're like, this is great. Everybody's engaging in my group. But then for the members, they get inundated with notifications and it becomes too much. And so what I have ended up doing in the past is I mute the notifications and then I stop engaging with the group. And so I'm sure there are people who are just masters at groups. I wouldn't say that that's me as far as like I interact in groups and stuff, but I know for me as a member, I found myself in that pattern multiple times where I'm excited, I dig it, too many notifications, mute it, stop engagement. So something to keep in mind there too.
Yeah, thanks.
Yeah, what do you think, Jer?
Yeah, basically when it becomes a time suck, people bail.
Yeah, that is a great line right there. Christine, how do you stop seeing updates from a specific person? This is the big thing here. If my friend likes the updates, you can't. So you can unfollow someone. That's easy, right? Click the little drop down in your newsfeed and there's stuff that will stop directly showing up in your newsfeed. But if somebody else likes their stuff and you're connected with that person that's liking it or celebrating it or commenting on it, then it's going to show up in your newsfeed as well, at least for now. It's a pain point. It is what it is though. So that's all you can do. You can unfollow someone, but you're still going to see it when your connections interact with that person's content, which again is a pro if you want your content to go farther. It's a pain if you want to really granularly control what's in your newsfeed. Okay, I'll just do two more because these are pretty fast. Deborah, does an employer page, or this is probably better to say, does the person who owns the page receive a notification when I add them as my employer in my profile? No, they don't. I think that would be kind of cool as an option to turn on and off, because if you're a big company, I mean, think about how many people are starting work at Microsoft this week and then getting let go this week and how much of a pain that would be. But no, you can add, I could add myself right now as CIA in the Secret Service, attach it to the Secret Service page. Secret Service would never know. Maybe they would, but they wouldn't get a notification and I'd get away with it. And they would be probably really bothered because I'm not a spy. And all they could do is do a special request, but they don't get a notification. They have to view employees of that page. So there's no notification that goes out there. Good question. Because you could probably really mess with people. I've had clients email me just irate because they're like, this person stopped working here years ago for a really good reason. We had to let them go, and they're still listed as an employee on our page. So you can file a request, but you can't also, there's no notification. You can't just kick them off. All right, one more.
It would be a great thing if it could.
Yes, totally. And I feel like there would be potential there to be you could abuse it.
As an employer or employee?
Yeah, like as an employer, and it can be abused both ways.
Yeah.
Like there are definitely, it's a slippery slope when you just let anybody say, I work for this company. It's probably safer to have the employer have control and boot someone off.
Yeah.
I don't know.
Yeah, I have mixed feelings about that also, because and when you're in an argument and somebody kicks you off because their feelings are hurt, and they can adjust the time, it can hurt somebody really bad. And I think if you're up level and thinking about your own brand, you won't lie on LinkedIn either. And if you lie a lot on LinkedIn, people will find out. So
I'm picturing a scenario where HR jumps the gun and drops you as an employee before they've given you notice.
Whoops. Yes. Yep. Yeah, just the amount of leverage that someone could have in that scenario is probably greater than the leverage that some person would have by adding themselves as an employee and making the company look bigger. But you know what you could, all the cons you could do. You could add yourself as an employee and then use that to like solicit somebody because it makes you look like a big deal. You're going to end up getting busted and screw yourself anyways, but you could do that. All right. Okay. Let's be honest. Plumb line. Don't lie. That's the rule. Okay.
A lot easier to remember your story that way too.
That's very true. Muhammad says, "Look, Zayak." Just kidding. That's Muhammad says, "Why can't I see who is following my company page on LinkedIn?" Because LinkedIn is a jerk. So number one, you cannot see the actual followers. I'm guessing it's because they want to protect people who follow a company from just being, solicited. That's my guess. Or if you got the list and then somebody unfollowed it, you might go like, what's the matter? Like, can you please tell me why? And just the awkwardness that could result in. But you can't view the list. That's what I was saying earlier. I was seeing if there's a workaround where you could do a search with follows and then your company name, but it doesn't display, probably for that reason. There's no way to get the list. Sorry. Anybody else have experience on that?
Nope.
Nothing. All right. Oh, let's see here. That's probably all we have time for. Those were the best ones anyways. All right. Anything else before I let everybody go? Nada?
Thanks again. This is fun.
All right. Good to see you guys. Have a great week.
See you later.
Later.